Now, this is something that you may have perhaps seen in spy movies, but it's happened in real life. It involved the British Defence Secretary, Ben Wallace, who, believe it or not, received a fake video call from a man who pretended to be the Ukrainian Prime Minister, Denis Shmyhal. Now, the Defence Secretary of Britain, Ben Wallace, has blamed Russia for the fake call, and he's also launched an inquiry into the incident. The Britain's Defence Secretary tweeted revealing the incident on Thursday. In his tweet, Ben Wallace has blamed the Russian disinformation and distortion and dirty tricks campaign. The Ukrainian Prime Minister Denis Shmyhal has also responded to Wallace's tweet, saying that the world can see the truth, and truth is behind Ukraine. The British Home Secretary Priti Patel has tweeted that she did receive a similar call early in the week. While it is not unclear as to who is behind this hoax call that was made to Ben Wallace, the Defence Secretary has linked the caller to Russia and its invasion into Ukraine. So what exactly happened with Britain's Defence Secretary? Reportedly, the call came to Wallace via another government department, appearing very credible. It was requested via an email in the name of an aide at the Ukrainian embassy. The British Defence Secretary was in Poland at the time. He was headed to its capital, Warsaw, and the imposter posed as the Ukrainian Prime Minister on a Microsoft Teams video call. Now, Wallace believed that he was actually talking to the Ukrainian Prime Minister Denis Shmyhal in the video call. Now, reportedly, Wallace also found the caller looked and sounded very like the Ukrainian Prime Minister, posing in front of a Ukrainian flag. Now, Wallace was then alarmed when the imposter started raising some questions relating to Ukrainian security, and these included some potential deployments of British warships in the Black Sea. Now, the prospect of Ukraine dropping its ambition of joining NATO, and if Ukraine should even get nuclear weapons. Interestingly, Wallace was almost 8, perhaps 9 minutes into this video call when suddenly he became suspicious of the person that he was speaking to. The Defence Secretary then claims that he immediately ended the call and now fears that this could have been a hacking attempt by the Russians. Now, concerns are being raised that the hoax call could have been orchestrated for disinformation and war propaganda by the Russian intelligence, either to embarrass Ben Wallace or perhaps to extract some sensitive information. Now, Britain's defence sources are worried that there may be more Russian attempts to try and distort the information that could have been extracted during the 8 to 9 minute video call. It should be noted that the timing of this call is very critical. Russia and Ukraine are in the middle of a sensitive peace talks. Moreover, the United Kingdom has played a key role in the ongoing war in Ukraine. It has provided military and humanitarian aid to Ukraine and has also imposed some crippling economic sanctions. Besides this, the British Prime Minister Boris Johnson and the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky have been speaking to each other regularly in similar such video calls ever since the war began. Now, to decode the war of disinformation and propaganda, we earlier spoke with the Professor of International Politics, Scott Lucas, who joined in from London, and this is what he had to say.
Well, as you noted, propaganda and indeed disinformation has been part of conflict actually for centuries. More recently, during World War II, during the Cold War between the Soviet Union and the United States, the U.S. disinformation before its attack on Iraq in 2003. But the recent context for what is happening in Ukraine has been a sustained Russian campaign of disinformation against its neighbors, not just Ukraine, but the Baltic states, Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia, and Georgia for more than a decade. And indeed, this deepfake video was a fairly crude video. It was pretty easy to dismiss it. It wasn't matched up right. The colors weren't exactly right. And of course, the very real Zelensky was around to establish that he hadn't surrendered. What's more interesting is that Russian tactics include disinformation, which has made it into the top of your program. The top of your program talks about Sergei Lavrov, the foreign minister, talking about 300 U.S. biolabs throughout the world, which is part of a Russian disinformation, a lie, that these biolabs, which are in all countries of the world, India has biological research laboratories, but that these labs are for U.S. biological warfare. So the Russians have had a great deal of success in multiple fronts, including U.S. presidential elections with disinformation in recent years. I think what's striking this time is is that there's been pushback against the Russian disinformation, and that almost in real time it's being confronted and often successfully challenged.
WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.